Hi, guys. Welcome to Walk Talk Vent. I urge you to subscribe and hit the thumbs up button. Let's get into it.
This is stuff you gotta do at work because people you eat other people's food.
That doesn't work.
So I do it just like this. And I'm telling you, let my food be touched, accepted with.
Okay, I want you to admit it now. If you steal food, let us know down in the comments. I don't think that's going to work.
I'm trying to figure out what to do in this situation. We have, so I oversee all of the HR payroll finance side of the company. And then
HR
we
is
have
not your friend.
operations manager who oversees operations. And he's in charge of making sure that the employees' hours are accurate so that way we can pay him accurately
Right.
or pay them accurately. So, we had a situation, or we have a situation right now that I'm trying to deal with and figure out what to do. We have two employees that were supposed to be at a job site at 7 o'clock. First employee clocks in, 7 o'clock, starts working around that time. And then the other employee is not responsive to messages of, either the manager or the first employee up until about 9:30, and he doesn't really start working up until 10 o'clock. But he clocked in at 7 o'clock, and his location shows that he was at the job site. But the first employee was like, no, he wasn't. He was not working with me.
Tattletale.
So turns out that he was hanging out in his car the whole time, just chilling. And so the manager, now he wants to let that employee go. But
Rightfully so.
HR has its processes that we have to go through. So that probably looks like a write-up. But also, this is a newer employee, so we haven't had a chance of having any issues arise with them yet.
You didn't train them not to miss work.
So we could terminate them for theft of time, although that time hasn't been paid out yet. So that's kind of why I'm leaning towards just kind of giving them a write-up. But obviously, if something like this were to happen again with the same employee, that would lead into a termination.
You should terminate
that
him.
is just one of the fires
He's stealing from you
putting out
right
today.
off the bat. You guys agree right off the bat you're
This
stealing?
is how people get caught stealing from fast food jobs.
How?
All right,
Tell
it's
me.
basically a process of elimination. What they'll do is they'll make the schedule so certain people don't work with each other. So say if Jill's the one stealing, on all the shifts that Jill's not on, nobody's stealing. No money's coming up missing, so it automatically raises a red flag. So what
That's
they're going to do
smart.
now is just set a trap. What the worker will try to do is only steal when another coworker is there. If it happens while the other coworker isn't there, then they know two people are stealing. Over time, you can actually build a chart and show them that all money only comes up missing on their shift. So then what's going to happen is after they expose this evidence to you, you're probably going to go to jail. Or they're going to tell you you can never work for the place ever again. Or you're going to
I think what he's saying is kind of genius, don't you guys? I think that when we steal, we being you people, because I don't steal, but when we steal from our employers, we think that we're so smart and we've got this master plan. And the reality is they're just waiting for the number to tick up high enough where they can call the cops on you. Am I right or am I right?
come into work and the police are going to be there and the detective is going to show you all the information that they have. Then they're going to tell you you're banned off the property, you're not allowed to go back. If it's over $10,000, it's called grand larceny. People think the camera's the only thing that matters. Like, no, the proof is in black and white over time. You already know that. It's your boy Street Knowledge. Make
That's
sure
right.
y'all like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Stay up, keep getting that money. If you drop a comment below, you could be the next.
You getting that money? Let's go on.
Hello.
Ooh, a part
Good
two.
here.
Let's
Are you
do
on Miss
this.
Rebecca Jill? Alright, can you come out so that I can talk to you really quick?
Get in the back office,
Anything
Rebecca.
specific,
Don't play
please?
dumb.
Is there anywhere else that we can sit down and do, or is this just fine right here? Yeah, sure.
What'd you do, Rebecca?
Alright.
Tell us why we're here.
Did she step out?
Yeah, she did. Alrighty. Well, Miss Rebecca, my name is Officer Fernandez. You have Officer Ogden, Officer Perez here as well. Do you know why we're here? Okay. So, we have video, we saw video that you allegedly stole $100 from the cash register in the front.
Was it worth it?
So I'm going to read you a few things and then we'll go from there, okay? You have the right to... Do you understand each of these rights I have explained to you? Okay.
Hey, I didn't hear my Miranda rights.
So what reason do you have for stealing these $100?
I didn't steal it. He did the $100 on the card.
Who did the $100 on what card?
The guest, I can't remember his name.
The guest?
Yeah.
Okay.
And why did you pull 100
So
bucks out
there's
of the
no
register?
transaction that you did this $100 deposit for this person on this card.
For room.
Whatever room it is. It just shows that you took money out of the register and you did not have permission to take that money.
Yeah, there's a
Understand?
deposit on there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's no deposit. Alright? There's no transaction. There's nothing to show that that deposit was even made.
Okay. Well,
Alright?
put it back.
So, you are going to jail. Okay? You're being arrested for theft of $100 from the business. Okay? Alright, go ahead and turn around for me.
And you smell like beer. God, doesn't $100 seem light to be going to jail? She's got her baby's footprint now. Now she's got to do some fingerprints herself. Next.
Come on. Yes, I'm coming. Okay.
Oh, how embarrassing. Oh, gosh. You're not going to outrun him.
Go for it. Right here.
Aunt Patty, no.
You got her first.
Yes, sir.
Take your phone. You have an ID with you?
I do. I believe it's in my purse. And then my locker.
You have your receipt on you?
Yeah, he's got it here.
Have a seat. Don't go reaching in your pockets.
No. I'm just nervous.
Okay. Elizabeth.
That is so embarrassing. It's not my Aunt Patty, but you know it's one of your guys' Aunt Patty's being arrested for stealing some Tic Tacs and a pack of cigarettes from a fellow customer. Embarrassing.
Sit up for him.
Oh, can I just sit? I just sit for a long while. Just need to put my okay, these are my lights for a second.
Take a breath.
I'll be alright.
Not the end of the world.
Okay.
0459.
Okay.
This is the case numbers.
Right.
Is she pulling a Felix Unger? Give it up. You're going to jail, ma'am.
No.
You was fine.
I'll be okay.
I think it's a hairball.
Hold it down, no?
Trash can right here.
It's just a hairball, officer.
Yep. What are you doing?
Oh, she was trying to throw away her. Oh, she had drugs. Patty.
Stand up.
Yes, sir. Okay. I didn't put anything in my shirt.
All together, okay?
Oh my god. I did not put anything in my shirt.
Balls to the wall, ma'am.
No, sir. I'll show you. Nothing. No.
Well, if you weren't, then you got nothing to worry about, all right?
Yes, sir.
So what are we doing today?
I was stealing stuff, obviously.
Okay. How were you stealing stuff?
In my purse, and I changed some prices too.
Okay. So you have merchandise in your purse that you pay
Yes,
for?
I do.
This?
Yep.
This?
Did you pay for this vial of crack cocaine?
And two toys, yeah.
This?
Yeah. And then 2 balls, I think that's it.
Okay. How many prices did you change?
Just the one, I believe. The good thing, actually, it didn't go through. So, no. I think that was it.
Yeah, no.
No, we didn't wouldn't go through like the thing. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, you're right. I did. I changed that too. It's $10 difference. Yep, we did.
What do you want right now?
I'm not nothing. I'm nervous. That's all. I just got scared.
You're lying. What are you on?
Who's with you?
My daughter, isn't there a way we can handle this out of jail? Anything, I'm begging you, I will go.
Ma'am, you agreed to the 4B commitment last week. You can't change your mind this quick.
To court and pay it all back.
Come get for this.
Please. Oh my God.
How embarrassing.
Why should we handle this with some kind of a court date or something?
I don't think it could be an agreement for you to repay all this money back.
No, I don't think besides,
$20,000.
I'm concerned about picking up my daughter from. No,
Do you
I
need
don't
some
have
gas
any
money?
else. from Boys and Girls Club where she's at, and she's already going through all this anxiety and stuff, and I got nobody to watch her. Nobody.
Well, you've got 20,000 in
I mean,
cash.
it's just me and her, and I don't know how else to.
Well, what about all this money
Isn't
from
there
Subway?
any way we could somehow handle it without taking me to jail?
Does anybody find it hard to believe that this Subway had $20,000 to steal? Subway is the worst place to get a sandwich. Can I get an amen?
I'm sorry.
I don't have anyone. How long would I have to stay in jail for? Like.
Only 4
You
years.
can bail out.
How long?
Hours. So let me ask you this last question.
Do you want to keep your job?
Throughout the time that you've been here, you think you stole more than $750?
750. I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Sold
I guess
20.
I guess I don't think. I think some of the times when you see me taking 20s, it was exchanging money.
So
I didn't think
the exchange does happen. The problem is you're not putting in what you're taking out. So that's not an exchange.
No,
How is that an exchange?
but I do it. I know, but I don't take.
You know the game you're playing.
Every night she steals about $50 worth of Subway sandwiches. It's only 3 or 4 sandwiches, but still, that adds up over time.
I just don't know how to handle this. My daughter, isn't there a way we can handle this out of jail?
He already said no.
Sorry.
If Tino said so, but I've been able to.
Yeah, I asked him many times.
I can't believe he's doing this. Is what I understand the issue. This
Yeah,
is what
I understand too.
He treats us all so badly.
Well, I wonder
And
why. There's
honestly,
a bunch of
I
thieves.
told him I was going to start looking for another job because all of us feel so.
You know what? I don't believe her. I don't think she was planning on looking for another job. She had it good there, didn't she? Listen, I got to share another story about stealing from work that I think you're going to like, but you got to put a little action in it for me. Go get your shoes. Let's go for a walk.
Man, this is getting old, recording 10 minutes worth of footage and it not being recorded. Oh my God, it's bad enough it's freezing cold in the morning, but then the damn camera doesn't record. Guys, I just went through a whole 10-minute speech about how the mail at my house hasn't been very good over the past handful of years. Half the time I go out to the mail over the course of a week, mind you, I'll find 1 to 2 pieces of mail that were misdelivered to my house. That means that occasionally I probably have mail that's misdelivered to one of my neighbors' homes. And this happens more now than it used to ever happen at all. On top of that, not only is mail not being picked up and delivered properly, it's a nationwide problem. It's not just me. As a matter of fact, the internal watchdog of the U.S. Postal Service found that a growing number of mail thieves are actually postal employees. The Office of the Inspector General says criminals are infiltrating the federal workforce at these postal offices. The problem's happening inside the mail processing plants. Employees are bringing in backpacks and coats, and they're actually looking for mail that might contain cash, checks, and even drugs. What's interesting about these backpack people is I always thought they were limited to the thieves that go into stores like Walmart and Big Lots and Target. They'll go into these stores with empty backpacks, and by the time they leave the store, their backpack is actually overstuffed with, products and stuff, and nobody stops them, nobody does anything. If you call the cops, they don't even want to bother coming down to stop the problem. And now these backpack thieves are infiltrating their way into the Postal Service. Victims like myself, and when I say myself, I have the occasional piece of mail from a neighbor come to my home, so I don't know if that qualifies me as a victim. I'll take that sentence back. But victims have been raising the red flag, with many suspecting an inside job. And it is a nationwide problem. Get this, over the last 4 years, the Postal Service has closed nearly 6,000 internal mail theft cases, and that's a 7% increase over that 4-year period. By the way, the news report that I saw this on, they wanted to stress that that's just the cases that are closed, meaning they probably have thousands of cases that they haven't closed, or maybe even thousands of cases that they don't even suspect yet. They did note the fact that the problem is definitely getting worse. So what does this mean? What this means is basically that friendly mailman that seems to change faces all the time, he or she is probably part of this problem. Well, let's take that back. They probably aren't a part of this problem, but in general, these temporary mail workers that many of us have delivering mail to our home, some of them are a little iffy. As a matter of fact, an audit found that there's a shortage of supervisors at these mail processing plants. But here's the catch with that statement. The ones that are current supervisors have never even been trained to spot mail theft. So even if we said, hey, let's throw some more money at this, let's raise the price of stamps like we raise everything else, and let's get more supervisors in there, I don't necessarily know if that's going to solve anything. There's more than 18,000 surveillance cameras in postal facilities around the country. And would you believe it if I told you that the Postal Service has no idea how many of those cameras even work? Holy moly, can you say pull the weeds in your yard? Holy moly, Postal Service. How can you be so behind the 8 ball? I've noticed that whenever I go inside the Postal Service to, let's say, deliver send something certified, I've noticed that they always seem like they're not the fastest, like they don't necessarily care. They move extremely slowly. If there's 3 or 4 people ready to help lines, 3 or 4 registers open, so to speak, I noticed that a line as little as 8 or 9 people can take as long as, 10 minutes. So it's not the most efficient place whenever you go to mail off something through the Postal Service. But in my head, I never thought, oh my God, what are they doing in the back? Frank Albergo believes that most of the thieves caught are pre-career employees. Jesse, what the heck is a pre-career employee? Well, back in 2010, to save money, the Postal Service began hiring temporary workers to save that money. They make less, they don't have any benefits, they have extremely odd schedules, and they move from route to route with regularity. Those people now make up a whopping 20% of the U.S. postal workforce. Less than half of them, believe it or not, are still on the job just 1 year later. What this gentleman, Frank Albergo, believes is that many criminal theft organizations are actually recruiting people to get jobs at the U.S. Postal Service as a temporary worker, specifically to steal mail. He was saying that basically the Postal Service is becoming a prime target of these drug trafficking organizations and criminal organizations. They're actually recruiting people to get jobs to steal the mail. And the USPS won't admit it. They deny the problem despite 6,000 closed cases. And their big idea for fixing this stuff is simply to fix some of those cameras. You know why I don't believe in the camera system anymore? We have all these 1984 Big Brother cameras up, right? But even though we have these cameras up, and even though they catch the bad guys left and right and all the time, if the judges and the court system doesn't do anything to punish these bad people and just gives them a slap on the wrist, well, then why do we even bother with cameras in the first place? This also kind of makes you wonder, before we had cameras, where everybody was kind of working on the honor system, how bad was crime secretively? There used to be a situation where the criminal knew, nobody's going to catch me for this. How many crimes went around and happened pre-camera days? I'm assuming that most of the cameras started going up in the 80s and 90s. What happened back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s? Were store owners just, were they just victims of crime left and right and they didn't even know about it half the time? The other day I was telling you guys that when people cut corners, a lot of times bad things happen. It might not happen right away, but if you cut corners religiously, at one point or another in the future, you're probably going to regret cutting corners, trying to save $1 here, trying to save $1 there. Sometimes you have to bite the bullet and do the right thing. I remember about 15 years ago, a family friend had recommended one of these family mechanics. Now, when it comes to family mechanics, there's two trains of thought. Some people say, hey, I'm glad that I have a family mechanic because I'm able to take my vehicle to them and they're able to save me a ton of money over going to these actual businesses to have my car fixed. And that's true. If you get lucky and have a good guy that you can trust, he or she might be able to save you a ton of money when it comes to fixing up things that go wrong on your car. However, if that same person ends up getting desperate for money and they know that you trust them and here's the blank check that you're going to give them, it will lead to people taking advantage of you. I had a gentleman that about 15 or 20 years ago, I was recommended by a family member to go to his place that he would save me hundreds of dollars. I had a Jeep Grand Cherokee at the time, and I had to get the air conditioning fixed, and I did not want to pay $1,100 or $1,200 at the time to get it completely re-outfitted and fixed. This guy ended up quoting me $600, $700, $800, which was significantly cheaper. But when I came to get my vehicle a week later, which, by the way, if you take it to a real reputable place, you probably get it back the same day or the next day at worst. But when I came to get it from him a week later, and I flipped on the air conditioning, it didn't feel like it was cold at all. And when I told him about it, he goes, well, Jesse, we get refurbished. And I stopped him right there. What do you mean refurbished? You didn't think to tell me that you weren't getting me a brand new compressor or this, that, and the other? And instead of blowing out at a really cold temperature, this thing barely blew out anything at all. And I wasn't even able to get my money back. I was literally this close to taking him to small claims court. But instead, because I was younger and because I was frustrated, I just kind of took my vehicle and left. I think looking back at it, I probably would have made more of a consumer complaint against him. The point that I'm trying to make is, to this day, I have those family members that still go to that shady auto mechanic, or if not him, because I don't even think he's alive anymore, they go to other shady family mechanics. I believe that when it comes to the old family mechanic, they're only good and reliable until they're not. And if they get into a pinch financially or get a little desperate in life, I don't think any of those family mechanics would have a problem charging you an extra couple $100 so they could get out of that problem. At Lacerated 1 DJ3 says, and I could not get hired with a clean record and management experience? The USPS is broken. Lacerated, I've actually heard that through the years. I've had a lot of friends that have wanted to become postal service workers, whether it's in a facility or in a Jeep going around delivering mail. But I've heard that same thing, that for whatever reason, it took them a long time to find that they weren't hired, right? It wasn't like a quick, hey, we're going another route. It took them forever to find out that they weren't even hired. And that is kind of disappointing when you come to find out that instead of good full-time employees with benefits, the Postal Service is trying to cut corners and hiring these temporaries that apparently the organizations are recruiting to go into these jobs solely with the purpose to steal. So once again, here's a situation where when people try to cut corners, it ends up not working for them. At a Florida Sun says, people used to take pride in their jobs. Now too many people think they deserve more than they actually do. You know, a Florida Sun, it's really easy when you hear somebody on TV and they complain that they've given 5 or 10 years of their life to a company and they're going on strike and they deserve this, that, and the other. It's real easy to nod your head up and down and say, darn right, go get that money you're deserved. But the absolute reality is, I don't think anybody, and I mean anybody on the planet, deserves to just be given some annual raise. If you want to give somebody a 3 to 5% bump every year to cover the cost of living, that's one thing. But a lot of times people feel like regardless of the job they do, they're just entitled to an annual raise. And I think what happens is a lot of times these companies get tired of that mentality, and so to avoid that, they go to these temporary workers. What that tells me is that as a people in this country, because of the way everything's set up, we're kind of in a damned if you do, damned if you don't type of situation. In other words, if you cut corners, you're going to lose, and if you don't cut corners, you're going to get people that constantly demand their annual raise. And again, when people want an annual raise, there's no shame to their game. They're willing to ask for outrageous amounts like it's no big deal. By the way, if that person represents you and you want an annual raise, I'm not saying that you personally are asking for something that's crazy. You might be asking for your first raise ever in 5 or 10 years. So obviously that's different than the coworker next to you that's asking for a raise every single year, even though they don't try half as hard as you do. That's what I want you to picture when I'm bringing up scenarios of the greedy worker. If you and your coworkers are kicking butt and you guys are holding up this one guy that's dragging everybody down as an office, does that guy deserve his annual raise right alongside you? I would argue, hell no. Valkyrie 1066 says, and we mail in our votes, ? See, Valkyrie, this is what gets me. We have a situation where every 4 years, people are getting more and more into mailing their ballots in. And whenever you have situations where they are literally telling us that you have these criminal organizations infiltrating the postal service, guys, you don't always need to be a hacker or some computer whiz to steal nowadays. There's nothing stopping these people from going old school and just hiring people to get into these jobs and then stealing actual products and packages before they even leave the plant. And when you have something at stake like a national election, and you have party members saying, hey, we should get away from this mail-in voting, there are chances for people to rig elections this way, I don't think it's just one side of the aisle being paranoid. I think we have legitimate proof that there's bad people working in our mail service, and because of that, again, this is just my opinion, I think we should get away from that and go back to the way things used to be, where people would be given the day off from their work, and maybe we could set it up where they can get paid for that day off, make it a national holiday, and have people go vote in person. If there's even a 5 or 1% chance that your mail could be tampered with, I mean, don't you want your vote to legally count? Go down and vote in person. And again, it's safe that I'm saying this because we don't have another presidential election for 4 years, so don't bite my head off. R8CH Letters says, I thought this was a serious federal offense. It should be extremely rare. You know, 6,000 sounds like a high number, But to be honest with you, that is considered extremely rare because we probably have millions of postal service workers, right? But the point is, these are the offenses that they caught. How many offenses went by unnoticed? Probably twice that number. Remember, a lot of criminals are really good at hiding their tracks. And if there's a situation where you have cameras that don't work, supervisors that don't know how to detect when someone's stealing the mail, and it's all because of these corners that the U.S. Postal Service cuts in order to save money, which seems ridiculous, by the way, because I know the U.S. Postal Service is a private entity, right? They're not technically owned by the government, but they're still a federal force, and they shouldn't be cutting corners. I mean, every other place in the government spends money out their teeth, so I don't see why the Postal Service would be okay with cutting corners. What's this going to lead to? It's going to lead to prices going up like always. And you're right, R.H. letters. I was always told that if you steal from a mailbox, that's a serious offense and you could get 5 years or more for postal theft. Well, if that's the case and you're turning a blind eye to the mail carriers themselves, God, that's not a very good deal at all. Could you imagine if you and I stole one of our pieces of mail from one of our neighbors' mailbox? You know, you could potentially get in trouble, but they're not going to do anything about the people in their own facilities that are doing this? That seems really crazy to me. And if there is no big problem or big deal with stealing people's mail, how long before the criminals just ditch the Postal Service and just start opening people's mailboxes and taking their mail if no one's going to do anything about it? Albeit one says it's almost like they should stop hiring thieves. Yeah, it's almost like they should stop hiring thieves. I totally agree. You know, here's the interesting thing. How many people go into the Postal Service and they're actually not a thief? And how many of them get seduced by the lifestyle? It almost looks like they're going out of their way to hire thieves. It almost looks like the more we move into the future, we're moving into this dystopian society where everybody keeps yelling, we don't want to go back. We won't go back. Guys, sometimes there's more to the world than just your problems that are up there on the surface. Look a little deeper. There's problems that are really plaguing our society. Neighbors are no longer neighborly. Families can no longer stand one another. It seems like we care more about businesses that are around the world than businesses that are here in our own backyard. It seems like we don't care what goes on with the border. It seems like we don't care about anything. The only thing that matters is that there's this fence, and there's these Republicans on one side and Democrats on the other, and all they ever do is argue about everything. Shouldn't this be a problem that makes everybody upset? Shouldn't this be one of those problems where we say, hey, let's nip this in the bud now, because if we don't, it's just going to progressively get worse and worse? And like I said, if you guys don't mind, think about your mail service that gets delivered right there to your home. How many times over the average, let's say, month, are you actually dealing with getting somebody's mail that really wasn't supposed to come to you, that was misaddressed? Or what I notice is that has the right address. For some reason, the Postal Service guy just wanted to put it in my mailbox. I've also had packages from Amazon. You know how you're always a little fearful of a package being delivered and stolen out of your front yard? Well, I've had situations where I'll be at my home and all of a sudden I get a notification that my Amazon package has been delivered, but nobody ever came to my house and I was right there by the front window. And then you come to find out that they deliver your package to the next door neighbor. And I've had that situation happen before. And it's just really weird. Customer service has just gone the way of the dinosaur. A lot of these people don't care. Holy moly, I feel like it's the summer, even though it's literally freezing outside, sometimes when you get your body moving, you actually get your body warming up and heating up, and before you know it, you're stripping your clothes off in protest. If any of you guys have dealt with these situations, let me know. If any of you guys are former Postal Service employees, let me know. Did you guys have any idea that about 50% of postal workers that go in as temporary workers don't even make it 1 year? I saw a picture, a video, and this was about 2 months ago, where they were showing a guy at a dumpster with his mail truck, and he was actually taking bags of mail and just throwing them in the dumpster. Now, luckily, he got caught and they went and were able to retrieve that mail from the dumpster, so to speak. But how many times had he done that before and not gotten caught? Apparently, what that guy did in that case is he just kind of didn't work that day, even though he picked up his mail and went on his route. And to basically have a free day of hooky where he got paid for it, he just went to this dumpster and dumped off all of his mail rather than actually delivering it. I mean, think about this. If you're at home waiting for a piece of mail and it doesn't arrive, you just naturally assume it'll arrive tomorrow. You don't think it's been stolen out of existence. Speaking of stolen out of existence, let's steal this weight that's plaguing our bodies and let's push it out of existence. How do we do that? Keep walking. Walking is a wonderful thing where you can contemplate problems like this, or more importantly, you can contemplate problems that you're actually dealing with and come up with some pretty good solutions. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow.